the journey starts. As a small request on my request, senior officials of SBI are here, my lord. If your lordships would wish to be assisted in camera, my lords. If your lordships do not so wish, my lord, they can leave. That's the only purpose, my lord. Small request on my request, senior officials of SBI are here, my lord. If your lordships would wish to be assisted, but my lord, as I said, my lord, if your lordships, if I do not discussing in public, the purpose is that's only purpose, my lord. Therefore, my lord, I also was, my lord. Small request on my request, senior officials of SBI are here, my lord. If your lordships would wish to be assisted, but my lord, as I said, my lord, if your lordships, if I do not discussing in complicated and purpose is that's only purpose, my lord. And it leaves several digital footprints and small request on my request, senior officials of SBI are here, my lord. If your lordships would wish to be assisted, but my lord, as I said, my lord, if your lordships, if I do not oblige your lordship.
May I please, Your Lordship?
Yes.
So now I try to broadly make two important distinctions. One, what are the scheme sought to achieve and what the scheme has not addressed, or what it has not done and what it has done. So then we have some element of clarity on testing the constitutionality of this scheme. Before I go into that, so we have three, let's say, assume that a 19-1-year right is available to all citizens and must be made available to all citizens in order that we participate on an informed basis in a healthy democracy. Too broadly stated though it may be. And we assume that it is so necessary. Though I say today there is no such statement of law available except those two judgments where the statement of law is for the purpose of knowing the antecedents of the candidate, a specific concrete purpose to be achieved. In order that we participate, so unless we say this larger purpose with a specific concrete purpose, we may have to look at it very differently. But before I dilate on that, I proceed on the footing there is such a right available. And therefore, anything which may have a bearing on the citizens' expression of participation in democracy is a value, is an important value. And for that, it must know everything which must come to the aid of the citizen to participate. So therefore, disclosure, information is integral to that expression dimension. The other value which the scheme seeks to promote is confidentiality of the contributors, and which is an enabling part of the scheme itself. So the enabling part of the scheme is confidentiality of the contributors. It doesn't make a difference between corporate contributors or any other contributors. The scheme treats all contributors equally. It doesn't pick and choose between contributors. So that value of the contributor's confidentiality, and the more important value with the learned solicitor pointed out, that moving away from a cash, black money, unknown sources scheme to a relatively regulated scheme, and which serves the public interest of taking a first or a second or a third, whatever step one may call, towards ensuring a greater credibility in the funding process. We look at the question whether a nexus, a quid pro quo will have an influence which is hostile or adverse to fundamental values of democracy is a different issue altogether. Because that issue, in my understanding, which may go into a political party funding equality of opportunity, or whether there should be no political party funding at all. These are larger debates. You want to look at what you as Supreme Court has been grappling with this question. In Arizona case where the court says a matching contribution from public funds to publicly financed candidates. The court says that that places an undue burden on the freedom of expression. So all those things are in the larger political domain. Therefore, the equality of opportunity, free and fair elections linked to that equality of opportunity and level playing field, all those concerns in my understanding, would require an analysis and evaluation which brings in norms and new norms for consideration and acceptance by the community and through parliamentary debates. Therefore, I don't think that aspect would probably be even invoked for the purpose of entering and looking at the three values which are in competition in this scheme. The public interest value, the confidentiality of the contributors value, and the citizens need to know the information regarding who contributes to whom. Now I ask myself a question. So how do you evaluate or balance these apparently competing, use the word apparently competing values? Yeah, I don't need to tell you lots about the three basic principles of proportionality, that there must be a legitimate purpose of a law, and it must have a racial connection with the object. And the next stage is that what the law does is must be to seek an object, must be least restrictive of all equally effective means. So the balancing test in this context would mean applying all this, and in a very involved situation like this, it would mean a cost-benefit analysis, which would bring greater costs in terms of effectiveness, bringing in effectiveness, credibility, purity, and which would not do that, and what kind of benefits will flow from that. That kind of a cost-benefit analysis, not necessarily in the economic or the financial terms, but in an empirical terms. So in empirical terms, I don't think that kind of an empirical analysis has been made available to the court, and that has not been the scope of discussion before the court. I'll just give an example, because this kind of a cost-benefit analysis, which often comes in the proportionality domain, I'll give the reference to those cases. For instance, in Germany, we had in the province of Bavaria, crucifixion was permissible in public schools. So in a complaint given by those who did not believe that, the Constitutional Court of Germany said that there are two competing rights. The right of one set of people to say, I would not believe in this. The right of the majority of Bavarians who believed in display of crucifixion as a part of either a religious symbol or a cultural symbol. So there's balancing between two sets of freedoms. One a negative freedom, and another a positive freedom. This kind of balancing always comes in when we have very important social concerns in conflict. But some of those balancing can happen at a conceptual level. But very often, even at a conceptual level, it happens. Some right to the other yields to the other right. One right yields to the other right. So the yielding of it should take place under what criteria, what norms. That may differ from the right in question. When you're talking about this particular aspect of evaluation and the cost-benefit analysis of public funding or funding from any sources, public versus private, do we have all that kind of, I said, an empirical analysis under norms which can guide the court? We say, this is how we apply this norm. We apply this norm and find this is faulty on that norm. On the other hand, if the court were to call upon to create a norm and say that any funding from any source, more particularly from a corporate source, intrinsically is an evil dimension to it, then the court is called upon to create a norm. That's why I said in the footnote that we are not entering with the domain, but even indirectly, if that idea influences the analysis of the court, there could be this problem. I think that idea has been brought in to probably color the debate, saying that this issue is intrinsically an evil matter, that therefore keep that in mind. Therefore, disclosure will be very, very important.
The analysis
So
of
the nexus between that
could be this
aspect and the disclosure,
I think that
idea has been somehow sought to be very subtly brought in, and I say you'll also keep it in mind that subtle connection we have to probably sever, because we're only looking at the three competing values, diverse from all this, and see therefore is the court called upon to apply a proportionality test in this at all, if at all, then how would you go about doing that? I have my brief submissions. This is at volume 2. Volume 2. Like any reporting, the warrant reports, it says, the attorney says citizens do not have a right to know. So, I don't know where I said it in my submission. Let me read it out. Your Lordship, sir, could have volume 2.
Yes.
I'll quickly run through it, and then one of the aspects I wanted to probably also address that in the context of 19(1)(a) and the Association of Democratic Reforms and PUCL.
Volume
and
2 of,
Your Lordship, please.
Volume 2 is the
Volume 2 is a separate volume.
compilation of Union of India.
Convenience compilation, also will find it.
Of the convenience compilation.
There's a convenience compilation.
Compilation of documents and documents.
Volume 2 PDF 10.
Page
Volume
10.
2 PDF 10.
Lord Justice Kanas got it? I'll be in the course of reading submissions, making.
Mr. Attorney, we have read the submissions. There's something that you want to highlight in particular in the submission?
Yeah, as I read a few parts of the submissions, I thought in my notes I kept what probably I would be talking about. Lordship, kindly look at paragraph 5 of this submission, because the first 4 paragraphs like a kind of an introduction to, so we don't have to go into the larger question of how the emanation of political parties and how, as a 19(1)(c) associations, it comprehends a variety of aspects of a political party, its supporters, its believers, ideology, and so on and so forth. Therefore, when a contribution to a political party comes in from either from a corporate or any other individual, it did not go under the color of a mere quid pro quo dimension. A person who supports a free market economy, and I find a free market economy which is propagated and supported by a political party, it will have my support. So beyond ideology, there are other considerations which bring about affinity between a contributor and a political party. So, and as I saw the tabular statement of all those contributors, it has all those small-scale industries, a wide range of small-scale industries. And we can't be fitted in to the quid pro quo dimension at all. That's why I said the scheme doesn't talk about a particular class of contributors. So these, I would probably be right in saying that the scheme is a regulatory within the broader concept of regulation of Article 19(2). As while an argument has been raised that the right to know 19(1)(a) cannot be subjected to any restrictions under 19(2) as they stand, an argument has been stated in the written submission, though not has been explained as how it really can happen. So I proceed on the footing that in principle, the concept of regulation can flow from any one of those 19.2 to 19.6. If one is right in saying that derivative rights or penumbral rights, the way of looking at a right can be seen beyond the text of the right. If that is possible, I suppose, implicitly, and it is also correct in saying there can be no right without a restriction. And I'm sure no court will say that I will postulate a right, but I will not visualize the restriction of the right. If that is so, the regulatory scheme under 19.2 to 19.6 can contemplate such regulations as would advance the purpose of the scheme. That's what I tried to stay in paragraph 5.
सरकारनं विशेष अधिवेशन
So
बोलवावं
we are
रोहित
talking
पवारांची
about moving
सरकारकडे
from an
मागणी.
unregulated system to a regulated system.
सर्वपक्षीय बैठकीत एकदिवसीय अधिवेशनावर कुठलाही
So we move
निर्णय
from an
नाही.
unregulated
राज्यात कायदा
system to a
सुव्यवस्था
regulated
राखावी
system.
यावर सर्व
The lawmakers may look into various aspects of how that regulation can minimally be and what kind of regulation will achieve the object. As has been explained in the foreknown, the various aspects of regulations
पक्षीय नेत्यांच्या सह्या
fall into one composite basic principle.
राखावी. सर्वपक्षीय बैठकीत
If that basic principle is confidentiality,
अधिवेशनावर
which
कुठलाही निर्णय
radiates in
नाही.
different
राज्यात कायदा
directions.
सुव्यवस्था राखावी यावर सर्वपक्षीय नेत्यांच्या सह्या.
I find that the challenge to what has been
राज्यात
stated
कायदा
under
सुव्यवस्था
29C
सर्वपक्षीय बैठकीत एकदिवसीय अधिवेशनावर कुठलाही निर्णय नाही. राज्यात कायदा सुव्यवस्था राखावी यावर सर्व
कायद्याच्या चौकटीत आरक्षण
of the
मिळावं
act.
यासाठी सर्वपक्षीय
We all
बैठकीत
get
एकमत.
connected by one
मुख्यमंत्री
common
शिंदेची
thread.
माहिती.
Why have we
कायद्याच्या
amended this law, that law? The common thread is confidentiality. And the enabling part flowed from section 31 of the RBI Act.
ची भेट
Once you
विशेष
enable,
अधिवेशन
then
घेण्याची मागणी
how do you
करणार.
go
5
about
किंवा 6
regulating?
नोव्हेंबरला
That thought
वेळ
process
देण्याची
triggered.
पत्राद्वारे मागणी.
Which are those connected legislation which need to be addressed?
मराठा आरक्षणावर चर्चा करण्यासाठी
those
सरकारनं विशेष
Connected
अधिवेशन
related to
बोलवावं
the
रोहित पवारांची
proximity to
सरकारकडे
the
मागणी.
question of moving from a unregulated to a regulated system.
सर्वपक्षीय बैठकीत एकदिवसीय अधिवेशनावर कुठलाही निर्णय नाही. राज्यात कायदा सुव्यवस्था राखावी यावर सर्वपक्षीय
Therefore, I don't think one
नेत्यांच्या
can say that I'll look at each one of the statutes in isolation and
सह्या.
call them into
मात्र
question.
संकुचित मनोवृत्तीमुळे मार्ग निघणार नाही. संजय राऊत
So
यांची सरकार
the approach that I'll look at the Representation of People Act, where the proviso says something, I look at it in isolation and says it's bad. I look at the Foreign Contribution Act and isolation, that is enabling foreign direct investment through a subsidiary company and so on, so is absurd, manifestly arbitrary. So this isolated understanding of each one of the legislation, I think in my understanding is flawed, fundamentally flawed. Because I said the common thread is one important common thread about confidentiality. May I just quickly read a few more paragraphs in this my written
पात्रता
submission.
प्रकरणी विधानसभा अध्यक्ष
Paragraph 6. The scheme does not impinge upon
करण्याचा संताप. रायगडच्या खोपोलीमध्ये दुकानाला लागली आग. दुकान
constitutional or otherwise.
जळून खाक. लाखोंचं नुकसान आणि शॉर्ट सर्किटमुळे आग लागल्याची प्राथमिक माहिती. बुलढाण्यातील खामगाव अकोला रस्त्यावर बायोडिझेल पंपावर आग आणि यामध्ये ट्रक जळून पूर्णतः खाक. मोठा अनर्थ टळला. गोंदियामध्ये 12 जणांना जादूटोणा अधिनियमांतर्गत 3 वर्षांची सक्त मजुरी. पीडितेला 20
My Lord, the Chief Justice raised a question yesterday. These are all statutory creations. A right came, a norm came, a disclosure came, it went away. What came by statute has gone away by statute. So if there is a restraint upon disclosure, it has been taken away by a statute. In that context, if all these, even a disclosure under the Section 182 of the Companies Act came by way of an amendment to the Companies Act, unless one is persuaded to say and one is also able to accept that proposition, that by reason of the statutory amendments, you acquire a right to have it retained as part of a constitutional scheme. And therefore, any change in this legislation, for any purpose whatsoever, including a public interest purpose, an important regulatory purpose, regardless of all that, that will be put to test. I don't know whether it can be stretched to that extent. The debate from 1958 onwards and the Companies Act, 69 one way, and then in 85 another way of looking at it, the debates in the parliament we wrote yesterday, show a very multi kind of discussion which took place in the parliament. So I'm not sure whether anybody can come with the proposition that as a product of these statutory changes, certain inalienable, indestructible, inviolable rights occurred, and citizens have a right to ensure that they are not tinkered with. That amount to enhancing all these statutory changes, amendments, statutory creation to the level of a constitutional principle. If you may just read a couple of more paragraphs. Paragraph 7. You have to kindly, the petitioners seek a declaration, though not the declaration is expressly sought in the petition. But I proceed on the putting, they want the declaration. The citizens have a right to know as an aspect or facet of the right to freedom of expression. Based on such a declaration, it is canvassed that the right to have access to the details of contributions the political parties must follow. Consequently, the confidentiality facilitated under the scheme is said to be impermissible. The above submissions are refuted on the following basis. Firstly, there can be no general right to know anything and everything without being subjected to reasonable restrictions. Secondly, the right to know as necessary for expression can be for specific ends or purposes and not otherwise. Arguments were raised yesterday about shell companies, and information was also showed to your lordships yesterday that the government has taken, I think, is continuously on the watch and vigil about shell companies. 2 documents have been placed for your lordship consideration. I don't think I need to take your lordships into each one of those statutes and analyze them for the purpose of understanding what they propose to do and what they fail to do and all that. But in view of my larger submission that they're all connected by one common thread, namely confidentiality. Then kindly come to paragraph 11. Again, it's a facet of my submission in paragraph 7. The judgments in so-and-so, where in the context of making informed choices about electoral candidates and knowing their antecedents, information limited to such knowledge serves a specific end of citizen choice of electing candidates free from blemish. Right to know for specific rightful expression was thus conceived. From that, it cannot be said the right to know for general or broad ends necessarily follows. Therefore, these judgments cannot be read to suggest that a citizen has a right to know that under Article 19(1)(a) regarding funding of has a right to information Article 19(1)(a) regarding funding of a political party. If there is no such right under Article 19(1)(a),
you have carefully gone through all your submissions.
Lordship, please, sir.
You have carefully gone through your written submissions. So if you want to just
No, as I read a couple of them, I want to make some explanations about it. So the further question of restrictions does not arise in 19.2. Kindly turn to the next paragraph. Because why we talk about reading the PUCL and the association with democratic reforms judgment in the way they ought to be read.
Does not arrive.
The court proceeded on
Kindly
borrowing
turn to the next paragraph.
what Justice Douglas talked about, the penumbral
Because why
rights and the
we talk
Griswold
about
Connecticut. Reading
I suppose that
the PUCL
the issue of
and
penumbral rights and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way they
general
ought
right
to
to
be
know
read.
about political funding may be misconceived.
The court
I just want to read a
proceeded
couple
on
of
borrowing
paragraphs from the next paragraph.
Maneka Gandhi and
Douglas
the
talked about the
concept of
penumbral
peripheral
rights
rights
and
and
how
the
we
Griswold
talk about
Connecticut. Reading
that judgment you'll also still find in
I
volume.
suppose that
The PUCL
the issue of
and
penumbral
the
rights
and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way they
general
ought
right
to
to
be
know
read.
about political funding may be misconceived.
The court
I just want to read a
proceeded
couple of
on
paragraphs
borrowing
from the next
Maneka
paragraph.
Gandhi and
Douglas
the
talked about the
concept of
peripheral
peripheral
rights
read them,
and how we
let them
talk
go.
about
You can just read
reading
them
that
all.
judgment you'll also still find in
I
volume.
suppose
What
that
para would
the
that be?
PUCL
The issue of
and
penumbral
the
rights and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way they
general
ought
right
to
to
be
know
read.
about political funding may be misconceived.
The court
I just want to read a couple of
proceeded on
paragraphs
borrowing
from the next
Maneka
paragraph.
Gandhi and
Douglas
the
talked about the
concept of
penumbral
peripheral
Just you read
rights
them,
and
let
how we
them
talk
go.
about
You can just read them
reading
all.
that judgment you'll also still find in
I
volume.
suppose
What
that
para would
the
that be?
PUCL
The issue of
and
penumbral
the
rights and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way
general
they ought
right
to be
to
read.
know about political
We'll
funding
have a look at it.
may be
because
misconceived.
that
The court
discussion on
I just want to read a
penumbral
couple of
rights
paragraphs
is
from the
very
next
important.
paragraph. Gandhi and just talked about the penumbral
Just you
rights
read them,
and
let
how
them
we
go.
talk about
You can just read them
reading
all.
that judgment you'll also still find in
I
volume.
suppose
What
that
para would
the
that be?
PUCL
The issue of
and
penumbral
the
rights and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way
general
they ought
right
to
to
be
know
read.
about political
We'll
funding
have a look at it.
may be
because
misconceived.
that
court
discussion on
I just want to read a
penumbral
couple of
rights
paragraphs
is
from the
very
next
important.
paragraph. Gandhi and just talked about the penumbral
Just
rights
read them,
and how
let
we
them
talk
go.
about
You can just read them
reading
all.
that judgment you'll also still find in
Page
I suppose
65.
that
Would
The
that be?
PUCL
the issue of
and
penumbral rights and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way
general
they ought
right
to
to
be
know
read.
about political funding
We'll have a look at it.
may be
because
misconceived.
that
court
discussion on
I just want to read a
penumbral
couple of
rights
paragraphs
is
from the
very
next
important.
paragraph. Gandhi and just talked about the penumbral
Just
rights
read them,
and how
let
we
them
talk
go.
about
You can just read them
reading
all.
that judgment you'll also still find in
Page
I suppose
65.
that
Would
The
that be?
PUCL
the issue of
and
penumbral rights and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way
general
they ought
right
to
to
be
know
read.
about political funding
We'll have a look at it.
may be
because
misconceived.
that
Court
discussion on
I just want to read a
penumbral
couple of
rights
paragraphs
is
from the
very
next
important.
paragraph. Gandhi and just talked about the penumbral
Just
rights
read them,
and
let
how we
them
talk
go.
about
You can just read them
reading
all.
that judgment you'll also still find in
Page
I suppose
65.
that
Would
The
that be?
PUCL
the issue of
and
penumbral rights and reading into
Association with
1918 in the
Democratic
context of
judgment in the way
general
they ought
right
to
to
be
know
read.
about political funding
We'll have a look at it.
may be
because
misconceived.
that
Court
discussion on
I just want to
proceeded
read a
on
couple of paragraphs from the next
borrowing
paragraph. Gandhi and
just
just
that
talked
one
about the
sentence.
penumbral
Just
rights
read them,
and
let
how
them
we
We
talk
cannot
about
therefore
reading
accept
that
the
judgment
theory
you'll also still find
that a
in I
peripheral
suppose
or
that
concomitant
the
right is
issue of penumbral
specific.
rights
The exercise of a named fundamental right
judgment
or
generally
gives it
right to be
meaning
read
of substance
about political
or
funding
makes its
may be
exercise
misconceived.
effective
Court I just want to
is
read a
itself
couple of
a
paragraphs from the
guarantee
next
of
paragraph.
rights.
Gandhi
Just
and
that
just
one
talked about the
sentence is
penumbral
named
rights and
fundamental.
how we
We
talk
cannot
about
therefore
reading
accept
that
it. That's why I
judgment you'll
was
also still
But
find
this
in
logic is
revelation
also now
of
undergone a change after
concomitant
the
Supreme
rights
issue of
Court
penumbral
recognized nine
rights
judges.
the exercise of a named
There is no right to
fundamental
say,
right
there's no
judgment
right
or
answer.
generally
gives
right
it
to be
meaning of
read
Expressly
substance
recognized by the
political
or
funding
makes its
may be
exercise
We
misconceived.
read in
effective
that right to
I just want to read a couple of
is itself a
paragraphs
guarantee
from
of
the next paragraph.
rights.
Gandhi
Just
and just
that
talked
one
about the
sentence
penumbral
is
triangular
rights and how
values.
we
we
talk
cannot
about
therefore
reading
accept
that
it. That's why
judgment
I
you'll
was
also still
But
find
this
in
logic has
revelation
also now undergone a change
the
after
PUCL
Supreme
issue of penumbral rights
the exercise of a named
reading
fundamental
into
right
judgment generally right to be read
expressly recognized by the
political
or
funding
makes its
may be
exercise
misconceived.
We read in that right to
I don't know
Reading
whether
that
this
judgment
statement of law is
that one
in
sentence
direct
rights and how we
we
talk
cannot
about
therefore
reading that
accept. That's why I
judgment you'll
was
still find
this
in
logic has also now undergone a change
the
after
PUCL issue of penumbral rights
the
Sir,
exercise
we
of
have
a
a look at it.
judgment
What
generally right to be read
uncertain now in your submission, any
or
particular
makes its
may be
statement.
misconceived.
I don't know whether this statement of law is
that one sentence
in direct
rights and how we talk about reading that
That's why I
judgment you'll
was
still find
This
in
logic has also made a point that
the PUCL issue of
Supreme
penumbral
extends the
rights.
benefit of confidentiality.
Reading
Have a look at it.
judgment generally right to be read about political funding may be misconceived.
The last point in para 18 is that when the court declare an aspect as part of a right, the impunity separation of powers and subject to reviewing or testing a law should be relegated to public and parliamentary debate. Declaring an aspect as a part of a declared right does not impede the last point in para 18 is that the sexual orientation is implicit in Article 16 as part of a right does not impede on separation. Separation of powers and subject to not impinges on but finding a right in a constitution, right in the constitution does not impinge the last year for the right to education, therefore it became a part of the right to education is a part of that does not impinge on
attempt is made to show that attempt is made to show that if you quickly read these 2 3 statements about statements of law and how you construe attempt is made to show that if you quickly read these 2 3 statements about statements of law and how you construe
contrary your written submission, if anything else to be added to those written submissions, I thought whatever you wanted to express yourself, you have expressed yourself.
I do quickly read just 2 3 by way of conclusion statements about statements Once you said that the ruling party takes separate advantage, that's not a consequence of it. Even if there's an unintended consequence, it's not a intended consequence. An unintended consequence, court will not do that on the basis of something that happened. Unintended consequence is not a
Division is
advantage.
capable of being.
I just want to do even if there's an unintended consequence. So what the argument is intended
right from the beginning.
consequence, court
So they take care of
on the basis of something that happened. Consequence is not a
Division is
advantage.
capable of being.
I just want to even if it doesn't put them to lines and notes. So what the argument is
right from the beginning.
consequence, court
So they take care of
on the basis of something that happened.
Sharma, how much have you collected by way of the total quantum of electoral bonds which have been subscribed since the beginning?
So we have not opened that cover at all. Because that was directed, the Honorable Court had directed that to be in the field cover. And the Lord desires that field cover is there, my Lord can have peruse it. But we've not opened it. We can.
Mr. Sharma, actually, quantum of details of the bonds are available with you. Total quantum of bonds is available with you.
We have not
Quantum
opened
of
that cover
bonds
at all.
given to the
That was directed, the Honorable Court had directed that to be in the field cover. And the Lord desires that field cover is there, my Lord can have peruse it. But we've not opened it. That's not there, my Lord, with us. We have only inside there was a query by the Honorable Court. I went through the records. There was one order passed by the Honorable Court.
total quantum of bonds is available.
My Lords had read 13 and 14 paragraph of 2019 judgment, my Lords, separately. We took it as if it is to be read jointly.
No, it's a wait. 13 relates to data as of the date of the order. But you can read the data which you have to maintain as of the date of the order.
My Lords had read 13 and 14 paragraph of 2019
Get back to us to ask us whether we
We took it as if it is
data or no, it's a wait. Present data as of the date of the order. 13 relates to data as of the date of the order.
March 2021, my Lords will find that in the order passed by the Honorable. My Lords had read 13 and 14 final Lords which was filed by the petitioners. And that said page 34, my Lord, that was passed in one of the interlocutory applications filed by the petitioners. On the date of March 2021, my Lord will find that in the order passed by the my Lords had read 13 and 14 final Lords which was filed by my Lord. They have, I don't think that has been filed in the volume 4, Lord. That was passed one of the initial volume 5 Lord, that final which I received from email Lord, that was filed on 5/4/2023 Lord by the petitioner. That's at page 34 of this Lord. And my Lords will kindly see this order and the relevant paragraph in this order which my Lords I would like my Lords to read is that's right. That's right.
Page 505. In the court paper, volume 3, page 505, that order is.
Oh, thank you. And my Lords will see, kindly see para 19, my Lords. Of
Which
that.
order?
Lords, order dated 26th of March 2021, which was filed, my Lords, which was passed in interlocutory application number 183625 of 2019 in the present writ petition.
26th of March 2001.
21, my Lords, 2021.
Is there at the volume which you had mentioned also?
Volume 3505.
Yes.
And para 19 is at page 519, which he wants your lordships to read.
My lords, it took note of the entire earlier directions. My lords, this order takes note of the directions passed by this honorable court, pursuant to which the compliance done by the Election Commission of India, my lords, and then further, my lords, para 19. This was a second application which was preferred by the petitioner, my lords. The first one was rejected, and thereafter the second application on the same ground, my lords. That's also discussed.
Where is the discussion with regard to paragraphs 13 and 14?
Lords, my lords will kindly see. Paragraph 12.
This was a application for stay, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Because a fresh window was opening up
That's right.
and Mr. Prashant Bhushan sought a stay at that stage.
That's right.
On the collection of any further amounts
That's right.
and,
That's right.
you know, and the distribution of any further electoral bonds.
That's right. Absolutely. And para 19, it says that as far as the information to the Election Commission is concerned, the interim order passed by this court on 12/4/2019 takes care of the same. In the reply filed by Election Commission on 3/2/2020 to IA number so and so of 2019, it is stated by them that Election Commission of India has received seal covers from various political parties, national, state, and registered and unregistered parties in annexure C1 to the reply filed by Election Commission of India, provided the list of political parties who have filed necessary details as per the order dated 12/4/2019, the date on which Election Commission of India received. Milords, so Milords, perhaps Milords, this may be a reason, Milords, that, but we are Milords, we bow down, Milords. If there is any direction, we'll provide it, Milords. There's no difficulty on that. And Milords, the order.
You should have got that data. You should have got the data
Milords,
when you
in
are
fact,
coming to the court.
If I may say, Milords, if my lords will kindly also see para 13 and 14 once again, Milords.
Oh, please, Mr. Sharma, this is not what was, we read out that order that day, prima facie. All of us had expressed the view and we expected you to come back with that data.
We can provide it during the, maybe in a short time, Milords. I'll instruct the commission, Milords, that.
And is the
By
data
Monday.
right up till 2023, March 23 now available?
Milords, we'll seek the data from all the political parties, because Milords, it has to have a detail, Milords.
What's the time limit when the data is to be given every year?
Milords,
Every financial year it's to be given? What's the time limit for, what's the deadline
Milords,
for
the
that?
data is not to be given, Milords.
So, with regard to the
That
returns
is
file,
annual, yes, Milords.
when is that to be given?
Milords, before the financial year, Milords, ends.
That means 2024,
That's right.
31st March 2024,
6 months before that.
6 months.
6
before-
months after the financial year, Milords.
So 6 months are over, September they got over, so you must have got the data.
It was not the data, Milords. That's what I'm trying to say.
Whatever the,
Only the quantum.
Up to 31st of March 22, you have any, 31st of March 23, you have the data.
Yeah, we have, Milords, but
You would have the data or ought to have the data.
It's only the total quantum, Milords, not the.
Right, you will have the total quantum,
Yes,
quantum of electoral
that
bonds.
we'll have, Milords.
And what is the bifurcation between different political parties?
Milords, that,
yes,
Has to
sir.
be,
Has
because
to
it's
be.
like-
we'll have to collate all with all the, yes, we'll
Because
have
the
that.
parties have
All
to
the-
give
all
you
the- all
submit
the- all the-
contribution
All
reports.
the recognized political parties, Milords, and registered, whether registered or not, Milords, we
So
have.
we'll have a look at your data. You can
Yes,
trace the
Mr.
data. Now tell us one thing. What is the basis on which the Election Commission had raised an objection to the scheme?
Milords,
Can you tell us what the nature of your objection
Yes,
was?
kindly see, Milords, there are 2 letters that we had written, Milords, to the Ministry of Law, Milords. Kindly see these letters. There are 2 letters which are dated 15th of March.
But I didn't deal with that submission, my lord. But I have the original file with me.
Yes.
RBI and EC, but after the correspondence, after their letters, there were meetings and meetings, and thereafter, my lord, a consensus decision was taken. There were meetings after the letters, my lord. If your lordship would like to peruse, I can show that file, my lord. Original file is here. But that's not an end of the matter. We thereafter discussed their concerns were taken care of. Their misgivings were, my lord, it was at the highest level. My lord, meetings were attended by the governor and minister, etc.
Look, that's come out in the rejoinder of the union also. Yes. That there were meetings which happened after the deliberation also.
So what was your objection and to what extent was it assuaged?
One of the concern that we had, my lords, is that there are three categories basically, my lords are aware.
One is it was at the highest level.
The other is between 2 to
by
20.
The governor and minister.
And the third is, that's come out in the rejoinder talking about the electoral bond for a moment, my lords. That there were meetings which happened after the general contributions which happened, my lords. So there are broadly three categories. Below 2K, between 2 to 20 and above 20, my lords. Now, as far as, my lords, above 20 is concerned, it is to be done mandatorily by way of ECS, my lords, either demand draft check or ECS, my lords. So that's not an issue. We get the entire details. My lords, as far as these other previous two categories are concerned, my lords, less than 2,000, my lords, it can be done in cash and there are no details about it. We are mostly concerned with the second category, my lords, that is between 2,000 to 20,000. Now that there is no provision given either. It can be done by cash, it can be done by ECS, it can be done by check or draft notes.
No, but it was said that after amendment to 2017
Please.
under the Income Tax Act,
Please,
if it is between 2 and 20, then it will be treated as income, which is not allowable, which will be then taxable in the hands.
please. So income tax has that. But vis-a-vis income tax, the RP Act, Lots 29C, that amendment or that change,
You have not, under your rules, you have not made
No.
made a stipulation.
it has not happened.
It has not been stipulated that between 2 and 20, you please specify. And is there any also a rule with regard to multiple payments by the same person?
No, my lords. There is no rule as such.
There's no rule as
There is
such.
no rule. Any person says.
But do you have data with regard to 2 and above 2 and between 20?
My lords, we don't have a data. That's the difficulty because
You have data below 20.
above
Quantum,
20, of course, my lords, we have it.
above 20, you have the particulars. Below 20, it's just the lump sum amount.
That's, my lords, we receive a contribution report, my lords, every year. Now, in that contribution report, we get the quantum as to how much in total a particular political party has received the amount above 20. Now, what?
And have you made any study or analysis of the data of dealing with the corporate bonds and how it's impacted the funding of political parties?
I'm not aware, my lords. I don't think, my lords, but I'll have to seek instructions. I don't think. I'll have to seek instructions on that. I don't know whether there has been some ongoing study on that or not, my lords.
Now, volume 4, page 467 was your letter of 26th of May 2017.
Please, my lords.
In what manner were these concerns assuaged?
Lords, kindly, if my lords will see this 26th of May, my lords. The first is, my lords, about that section that I just spoke about, my lords, section 29C, that we wanted that same principle, same provision which is there in IT Act to be brought into 29C so that we also get to know, my lords. So that was one concern, my lords, which we had highlighted. And which is now, my lords, contribution above 2K is now included, should be included, my lords, in 29C. So that, my lords, there will be a proper quantification as to how much is in that bracket, how much is coming with a particular political party as a donation, which we don't have, which we don't have as of now. There is no breakup of that. We only get the total amount, that this is the amount which we have got in that particular category. So we have no data on that, my lords. And we don't know the source also. So
Whichever food.
Of 12th April 19, right?
12th April 19.
Volume 1, page 15. Volume 1, page 15. Oh, I don't know. Twelfth of April 19 order.
Yes.
Volume 3.
Volume 5.
Now is the time to cancel Monday. Now is the door of opportunity.
Hello my friends, welcome on this video tutorial. Today I will show you how to stream with OBS directly on the Facebook Live.
As per you, you don't have data after 2019.
No, because unfortunately we don't have data, but
The data
I
will
put down
be-
if my directs them,
And
I'll
also
instruct the-
I will show you how to stream
Our direction
all
is
the
already there.
trusted OBS
but
Studio
you can get the
to
latest
open
version
up your Facebook. First of
in the
all,
last
we need
window.
this, and I will go here on your display capture. You go, okay, today's
Till
go screen, okay,
23.
and choose your, go here, this one. So next step, go here, stream first, here, not full HD, go here, download stream, full server, on, go live, streaming, the streaming key, just copy here, go back here on the OBS Studio, and paste the streaming key and click apply. Click OK. Let's try to streaming. Obviously the streaming key, just copy here, go back here on the OBS Studio and paste the streaming key and click apply. Click OK. Let's try to streaming on the Facebook first.
Say up to the 30th of September.
Okay, let's see, let's check
Till the latest below whatever we have.
if we have a view here. Oh, here it is.
The last that the
Stop
You get
streaming.
it from the political parties or you'll get it from
Go
the
back here on settings. Go on output. Here on the streaming.
Will not ask SBI to reveal the identity.
I suggest using NVIDIA NVNC because it's a hardware acceleration and will be performed better. I will use here 6000 kilobyte per second, constant bit rate.
The order we said, the
Yes,
just and proper
quality.
direction would be to require all political parties
Okay,
who have received
and
donations
next
to election
step
bonds to submit to the
here
Election Commission of
is
India
for
and seal
streaming
cover.
part. Okay,
Detailed
start
particulars
streaming
of
again.
the
Let's see
donors as against
if
each
we
one.
are okay with
The donors
Facebook.
will also come in there. The amount of each such bond.
Okay, it
The
looks
full
okay.
particulars of the
So
claims
now
received
let's
against
do
each such
stop
bond.
streaming on the
So
Facebook
give us the
and
bit-
let's
the
set
data
up
that you have
the
up to
streaming
30th of
on
September.
YouTube. What you have to do, you just go here on the YouTube
details of
page,
the donor, that's why in seal cover below. Otherwise,
click
below
here,
data can,
up, go live.
the quantum can give.
Just show us what you have got up to now.
Here on the go live. Okay, here it is. What we have to do on go live, now made for kids, click save, and here you will see streaming URL. You will see also streaming key to paste on the encoder. Okay, what we have to do, we have to copy this streaming URL. Okay, come here on the OBS Studio, streaming is on the encoder. Okay, what we have to do, we have to copy this to paste on the encoder. Okay, what we have to do, we have to copy this streaming URL. Okay, have to do, we have to copy this streaming URL. Okay, come here on the OBS Studio, go to settings, go here on the output, go here on advanced. Okay, go here on the recording part. You will see here output to file or output to URL. I will use output to URL. Okay, paste here the URL, click slash here, come back here on the YouTube, click copy of this secret key, stream key. Okay, go back here and paste the secret key, stream key, paste the stream key here at the back of this link. Okay guys, click apply. Put here the video bitrate should be, I use it 6000 kilobit per second, keyframe 13,
Keep it in the
and
custody
don't
of the
forget to use
They have given separate seal covers. for
MP4
each political
here
party
format.
separately.
It's very important, put it MP4. And video encoder, I will use NVNC, but if you don't have NVNC or hardware
We
encoder,
are really dealing
you
with a
can
constitutional
use
point. I mean, that this
default
has no bearing
encoder,
on
right?
How we decide the constitution.
Wait a second, this one, default encoder for you. But for me, I will use this one.
Confronted with the situation. That nothing,
Yes.
no details can be made available.
Yeah, that's okay.
No, I was on a
NVNC,
different
okay?
point, Manoj. This
Then
might
click
possibly
apply,
have
click OK.
everything received by everyone.
No, it's separated.
Separate.
is separate by each political party.
Then there is no collation also.
Collation is already done.
The order is to the political party.
No. The order is to both, everyone. I don't think political parties or party.
That's right, all of them. They have to, that's why they're separate.
They had to get it from the political, because they are the ones who are.
Yes, of course.
So should we hear Mr. Sibal now, I think? That you want to add?
That's the only concern that we had, Milord. And this IT Act concern, we had raised it before the electoral bond in 2016 itself, which we have mentioned it in our counter affidavit. So that was the.
Thank
you. DP of Electoral.
Yes,
Your Lordships, I didn't address your Lordships on how we addressed their concerns, etc. Would your Lordship like to be assisted? Because it was more a consultative process with them. After having received.
A note of the fact that you were consulted.
Yeah, and EC can't be taken lightly.
You have any, does the EC also have any idea what was total expenditure incurred in the last election? No.
That we'll have. Total expenditure, yes, because there are three heads that we receive the accounts. One, as I said.
So, but as far as political party expenditure is concerned, do you get data with regard to that also separately?
Milords, we get data of every candidate who has to
Candidate will not be sufficed because
Milords,
political
as far
party.
as political parties are concerned, Milords, we don't get the expenditure of a political party in a particular election, how much they have spent. It is candidate specific.
So then your data is incomplete.
Candidate specific, Milords, because that's
It's not, you don't get the data with regard to all the political.
In total, the political party spends, Milords, that may be.
No, that will be with the income tax department will be there.
Possibly, maybe, I'm not.
No, I'm asking him because he's the one who.
No, that's right.
So, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, 15 minutes in rejoinder for you.
2 minutes. You're not going to give me just 20 minutes. I'll finish by 3:30.
But we'll have, now we have 50 minutes. So you, Mr. Sibal, Mr. Hansaria and
for
Mr.
15,
5 minutes. all right.
15 minutes extra if necessary. That's.
We'll wrap up today.
Only to answer your Lordship's query, the political party's expenditure is a part of their annual accounts, which is filed with election.
I stand corrected, Milords. We have the. Milords, I stand corrected. We have the data of the political parties. Milords. We have the data. I stand corrected.
Yes, Mr. Bhushan, what do you have to
Yes.
say?
So the first argument of the solicitor was that because of these amendments, the volume of cash which is coming to political parties, which he says are maybe black money or is likely to be black money, that has gone down.
No, that's not his argument. He doesn't make a quantitative statement. His contention is that this was an effort which was made to bring into the accountable channels what was otherwise completely beyond the fold of accountability because the earlier schemes had not worked.
So let me just deal with that. Firstly, my lord, it did not close the cash channel. The amendment has left open the cash channels. The only change that has been made is that for getting income tax exemption, that 20,000 has been brought down to 2,000. That's all. Otherwise, donations up to cash donations up to 20,000 can be given to political parties and they are not required to be reported. Quite apart from the fact that actually 20,000 or 2,000 does not make any practical difference because all that the political party declares is, I have received X crores as cash donations, which are below 20,000. They used to say below 20,000 earlier. Now, if they want to avail of income tax exemption, they say it's below 2,000. So they say that we have received whatever, 100 crores, 500 crores by way of petty cash donations. Earlier, petty meant below 20,000. Now, petty means below 2,000 if you want to avail income tax exemption. Practically, it makes no difference in my respectful submission to the availability of cash to political parties or the ability of individuals to give cash to political parties. Practically, that 2,000, 20,000 makes no difference. Now,
that will not impinge upon the validity of the scheme.
Yes, I know. Lord, they are saying that this whole exercise was to bring down the element of cash in the economy. They say cash is equivalent to black money. The object of the exercise was to make political funding of parties to come more through banking channels rather than cash. This, they say, was the stated purpose of this whole bringing in electoral bonds, one of the stated purposes.
Mr. Bhushan, there will be slight difficulty. Even if it has not happened, probably the data may support you. The cash channel may not have come down.
No, cash did come down. I'm not saying cash didn't come down, but the reason why, it's important to understand why cash came down.
There are three, four arguments on which we want direct answers.
Yeah.
One is that the intention was to ensure that the money comes through regular banking channel.
Yes.
There is a KYC required.
Yes.
Which is not there as far as payment
Cash
is concerned. And also, even if it is coming through the bank accounts,
yes.
The KYC by the second KYC at the time when the bond is purchased is a second added advantage.
All right. Let's assume that that's there.
Number three, their contention is that as far as payment is concerned, the person who's made the payment is concerned, the need to know the name of the donor has been protected. The confidentiality of the donor has been protected.
Yes.
For 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons.
Yes.
And therefore, when you are examining the reasons, you will have to take into account what was the intent behind the enactment, and not by a counter argument, which may be. And there has always been a conflict between confidentiality and declaration.
So, my lord,
both of them have their pluses and minuses.
To answer our argument that these changes defeat the citizens' right to know about who's funding the political parties because they introduce another anonymous source of funding. Now, the answer given by the solicitor to that is that, well, it had an objective. Now, these are two conflicting things. They say the objective was to limit black money or cash money coming to political parties or to reduce that. And therefore, we introduced these electoral bonds because many individuals or companies do not want to be known that they are the donors to these political parties because they fear victimization. So that was what the finance minister then stated. That's the argument also of the solicitor, that there was an objective behind this. Now, what I'm pointing out is that if the objective was to choke off cash donations have not been choked off.
But that was not the object at all.
Yeah.
The object, as the finance minister says in that article, and that's broadly an indication,
Yes.
was to add some element of transparency. That's what Mr. Jaitley said. That it will enhance transparency to a significant extent, and we would add.
And now I will start streaming on Facebook. In another case is let's here on Facebook we have you and
it was purely cash based.
so we are working well.
Voluntary contributions, we had
Now
electoral trust. But
not just that,
stream setting
direct check
is
donations,
it,
etc.
and I will
unaccounted
click
scheme
apply, click
proceeds
OK,
on anonymity.
Yes.
and now
According to you,
I
they
will
have continued
and click
anonymity.
apply, click OK,
We have continued that
and
anonymity
VNC.
of
Okay,
cash.
But there is one
but
way,
for me
but there
I
is
will
one
use
way,
this one.
that the electoral bonds have
Yes.
brought whatever is contributed to the
Yeah,
electoral
that's
bond
okay.
in the
And
form
VNC.
of
Okay,
accounted transactions within the
and
normal
click
banking
apply,
system.
click
Now
OK,
the question. So that's the second limb of
and
the
now
argument.
I
that
will
this
start streaming.
reduces
Apply.
black money flowing into political parties because it's coming through banks. Ultimately,
Whether
Here
it
I'll go
reduces or
live.
not, to my mind, is irrelevant to the validity of the scheme.
all right.
The scheme may be wholly unsuccessful, but it
Okay,
may still
here
be
it
a
is.
constitutionally valid scheme.
No, Lord, then that is no response to
The
my
recording
original
part.
submission,
You will
which is
see here.
that it defeats a
Go here on the
constitutional
recording
right
part.
of citizens
You will
to
see here.
know the who is funding these political
output to
parties.
file or output to
That's a
URL.
fundamental
I will
right
use
which your
output
lordship
to
has
URL.
recognized
Okay?
under 19(1)(a).
Paste here the
And,
URL. Click slash.
And if
Here,
what is being
URL.
argued that
Click slash.
the object of this
Here.
bringing in electoral bonds was
Come
to
back here
reduce cash
on the
and
YouTube.
reduce black
Click
money,
copy
so
of
to
this
say, and bring in
secret key,
only
stream key.
accounted money through
Okay?
banking
Go
channels
back
to
here
political
and
parties.
paste
If
the
that's the
secret
argument,
key,
then I'm
stream
just pointing
key.
out
Paste the stream key here
that that's not
at the back
entirely correct
of
for
this
the
link.
reason. Firstly, you can still
Click
give
copy
cash.
of
There
this
is no
secret
bar
back
today
here.
which has been
Click
placed on
slash.
cash. All the only change
Okay?
that has been made is
Go back here and paste the
How to
back.
put a bar on cash?
Put
It's
the
a
to
third
you
economy.
and with your
Much as you
hardware
may impose
encoder,
a bar on
you
cash,
can use
If you,
It's illegal. It's
you-
illegal.
default
because we have a
encoder,
third
right?
economy.
that's the
Wait a
point,
second. This one,
that
default
it could
encoder
easily have been
for you.
done
But for me,
that
I will
all
use this one.
receipts of political parties, at least of
Yes.
political parties,
Yeah,
will
that's
have
okay.
to be accounted, whether it is
NVNC,
cash
okay?
or not.
And
Or
click
cash
apply. Click
also,
OK.
any money being received, you could have done either of two things. One is to say the cash is totally prohibited, you have to take through banking channels. This is one option. The other is, even if you take cash, irrespective of the amount, even if it is 100 rupees, 50 rupees, even the RBI, when it dealt with this electoral bonds, when it responded to electoral bonds, they said that if your object is to make political funding go through banking channels, there are existing instruments of checks, drafts, bank transfers, etc., which are available. Why are you introducing this anonymous instrument? This will allow, because as I pointed out, Lord, it's not that black money cannot come in through electoral bonds, though it will come in through banking channels. The example that I had given in my initial submissions was, suppose, as has been done, that you, by under invoicing, over invoicing, etc., you siphon out some funds, X crores or X thousand crores, to tax havens. From there, my lord, you have a company to which you have deposited. That's all black money. It's over invoicing, under invoicing money which has been siphoned out to those tax havens. You set up a subsidiary of that foreign tax haven company in India. It's a